Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author, speaker, podcaster, and holistic health and body image coach, Jen Baer. She is on a mission to help women step into their full potential through healing. Jen has walked this path, and that is what led her to start Exalted Health. Her passion for helping women get rid of all of the wounds they have been carrying to heal so that they can go forward and live their purpose for who they really are is her mission. Her ability to relate, connect, and inspire women through their own journey is what makes her unique. Enjoy this interview.
First and foremost, thank you for taking a minute out. And before we get into your life as a holistic health and body image coach, I want to know, the last 3 years with COVID has worked on all of us in very distinct and different ways. And I'm curious how you survived it and how it's changed the way that you approach life and your business now.
I just started this business about a year and a half ago. I've been a health coach for 11 years and felt that the way I was doing it for the first however many 9 was the wrong way. I used to be the kind of health coach that told you how to eat and how to exercise and kept people motivated. And what I realized is that we were always trying to arrive somewhere and that finish line never came, right? That became really apparent during COVID when it was like all of a sudden all the things that we were doing to keep ourselves healthy and happy. My family's really, really active. And that came to a screeching halt. And one of the things that I had never addressed even in my own journey was my addiction to emotional eating. I had a strict enough diet that I could be really healthy. I also had some chronic health issues that I handled with food. And when all of that came to a screeching halt during COVID, like our lives were kind of flipped upside down. We were in a really unique situation where my husband and my 2 kids and I were actually on a year-long road trip when COVID happened. So we were traveling the U.S. in our RV and having the time of our lives, really. And then COVID hit. And all of a sudden, we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't hike. We couldn't be outside. We couldn't go to the beach. We couldn't go to parks. We couldn't do any of that. And so, all these things that we kind of prided ourselves on being healthy came to a screeching halt, and we really realized that we had some more inner work to do, and that's where Exalted Health really was born out of. So I rebranded, I moved some things over, and that's where it came from.
So if I was to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day and one of the kids looks up at you and says, "What do you do for a living?" how do you answer them?
Yeah, I really teach people how to take good care of their bodies, their emotions, and just allow, so much of what we do as adults is we try to fit into this box. We're going to have the perfect bodies. We're going to eat the perfect diet. We're going to have the perfect job. And even when we have those things, we realize we're not happy on the inside. So teaching them how to regulate their bodies, how to handle their stress. So much of what I learned about the nervous system came from my son, who had a sensory processing disorder, right? He would have all these emotions. He didn't have the language to tell us what was going on, but I could see his body was dysregulated. So we would do really fun things, like we would do jumping jacks in order to calm the body down. We would engage both the left and the right side of the body in order to bring peace and alignment to the body. And so if I was talking to a bunch of third graders, I would say, when you're really stressed out, here's a couple of things when your emotions when you're really mad, when you're really upset, here's a couple things that you can do in order to be in control of your body.
So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream growing up? What did you want to become?
When I was in the third grade, let me think. I always wanted to be a mom. From the time I was a really young kid, I wanted to be a mom. And then past that, I don't know if I had a set goal. I knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to help people. There was a season when I wanted to be a teacher. There was a season when I wanted to be a counselor. There was a season when I wanted to be a professional athlete. And so what I do now, really kind of encompasses all 3 of those. Although I'm not a professional athlete, I still teach people how to take care of their bodies and teachers and educators and counselors all teach people how to take care of themselves. And that's really what I'm doing.
So are you happy with how everything turned out?
Oh, I love how everything has turned out. It's been a journey. You know, when I first started, it was really working on a lot of the body image issues. Typically, I work with women. So a lot of the body image issues that women have, right? They eat right, they exercise, and they're always trying to arrive at this place where they're happy in their body. And maybe they realize that they haven't done the inner work that's more important than what the outside of the body looks like. Since then, the Lord has just combined what I've done with the nervous system regulation, body image issues. Every woman that came to me with body image issues had nervous system issues. They were still stressed out all the time. They still felt like they had to be perfect. They still felt like nothing was ever at peace in their life. And that's really where all of the nervous system work comes into play, is teaching people how to be calm in their bodies, how to be connected to their bodies. And so they're not so focused on being perfect on the outside. They have that inner peace.
So let's go back to where you were born and raised in your childhood. And how did these seeds get planted in you to become who you are? You're obviously in a line of work that gives a lot. And how did that happen for you? How did all that become who you are?
You know, I struggled with my health almost my entire childhood. I was sick all the time. I was one of those kids that caught everything. I also was raised in a household where maybe perfectionism was kind of expected in a lot of ways. And that really led me to be this really anxious person. You know, I had this idea that if things weren't perfect, then I was bad or wrong. And whether that was, you know, put upon me or something, I came into agreement with myself. I think it was maybe a combination of both. When I was 20, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, super aggressive form of cancer. And then I got really focused on nutrition and what I was doing that was just allowing all this sickness in my life, right? And I got really passionate about nutrition in my 20s, and then my late 20s, early 30s, I became a mom. And then I had a son who really, really struggled with, like I was saying, sensory processing issues, maybe some autistic type behaviors. And so we were passionate about nutrition all this time. We were passionate about how we took care of our bodies. And then in my early 30s, I got Lyme's disease. And Lyme's disease is just an awful, awful disease that totally attacks the nervous system. And so I started seeing these patterns in my life, in my son's life, once I started coaching women, their lives, and just really started to dig into what was missing. Like, why can I eat really well, take really good care of my body by moving it on a regular basis, and I'm still sick all the time? I have a son who's going through the same thing, right? Like, we're really clear on how to eat clean and fuel our bodies correctly and take care of our bodies, but we're still facing all of these outside struggles. I've been a lifelong learner. I've been an absolute lifelong learner, and I was just, there's something else missing. Lifelong learner, so I started digging into what else is missing from the puzzle, right? Why can my husband, who does eat healthy and does exercise, but I'm on a whole other level, and he never gets sick, and I'm always sick. I'm always battling something. And that nervous system regulation was the thing that was missing throughout.
What is it ultimately that motivates you daily to do the work that you do? What is it that gets you through the day and is an ultimate motivator?
Helping other people. You know, I struggled for many, many years. I'm in my 40s now, and I'm still figuring it out. So if I can help people along the way learn a lot of the things I learned through struggle, so that they can step into their purpose a little bit more, right? If you're sick all the time, or you're struggling with anxiety all the time, or you're completely obsessed with how you look and struggling with that body image piece, you're never going to be able to step into who you really are, because you're wasting all your precious energy over on those other things. And if you and I know as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, if you're in a space where you're creating, like you need your full energy. You need your brain to be clear. And if I can help just one person clear out the things that are weighing them down, the health struggles, the body image struggles, the anxiety, whatever it is, so that they can fully step into their purpose, that's where I get my greatest joy from.
So if you had a dream tonight, you ran into the younger version of yourself, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained and the roads you've been down in your life, what would you tell that young version?
You know, I've had to do a lot of unlearning over the years, and I think I would tell that younger version, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect to achieve anything. Just keep learning and putting one foot in front of the other. And just, I wish I would have engaged in learning to manage my anxiety and chronic stress at a much younger age. I think that would have saved me a lot of suffering. I always kind of laughed off stress. I'm like, everybody has stress. Nobody can get rid of stress, which is true. Like, we're always going to have stressors, but how we learn to react to that stress is the key difference.
Certainly is. So what's been the best client response fan letter you've ever gotten in your life?
Oh, let's see. You know, I have one woman who I've worked with for quite a while, and we've worked through so many of her issues, and now it's more just like a life coaching situation that we've continued to do. But this poor woman had struggled with emotional eating and binge eating since the time she was 9, and she's in her close to her 60s now. And when she was a young kid, and this was back in the day when they weighed people in front of the whole class, right? And they weighed her in front of the class, in front of all of the other kids, and the nurse said, "You're fat. You need to go home and tell your mom to put you on a diet." And so from the time she was 9 until she left home at 18, everything that she ate was completely restricted. You know, she would get maybe a tiny cup of rice and a tiny chicken breast for a meal, while the rest of the family ate, you know, big, you know, luxury meals. And so for her whole life, she felt like she was starving. And so she was just trapped in this cycle once she became an adult, where every time she would try to eat a little bit healthier, her body would be triggered into a state of emotional eating, and she would start binge eating. And it was this vicious cycle that she went through for nearly 40 years. And she has been completely set free from that. And she's in this really healthy relationship with food now, where she eats whatever she wants, but she knows making nourishing choices is the best thing for her, but nothing is restricted. And it's changed her whole life. It's changed her whole relationship with her family, with how she shows up to every social event, because she's not stressed about what she's going to eat. She gets to be just present and focused on the person in front of her and having beautiful conversations. And it's changed every area of her life. And it's just the most beautiful thing to see.
So of all the things that you've done and accomplished in your life up to this point, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I mean, for sure, being a mom, I have 2 awesome kids, and that was always something that was so important to me. 11 years ago, I left a really intense full-time job to work for myself so I could be more present with my kids. And that's for sure one of the things I'm most proud of. You know, I have 2 teenage kids that still like me, that still talk to me, I still have really healthy relationships with. And I think that is a testament to how present I've tried to be in their lives. And it's absolutely not perfect, but I'm super thankful for that. You know, when I was a teenager, I didn't feel like I ever had someone I could really talk to. So I'm really proud of that. The second thing I would probably say is I wrote a book this last year called Bless Your Body. And it's a 40-day book on how to change your relationship and change the way you show up and talk to your body. And by the grace of God, that book has hit several bestseller lists, and so I'm super proud of that. I'm super proud of the effect that's having on people's lives and how they communicate and show up for themselves. And so I'm really proud of that as well.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, clients, colleagues, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am passionate about sharing health. I'm passionate about my faith, and I'm passionate about my family, and I think that is how people would perceive me.
Jen, if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, hire you, anything pertaining to your world, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, my website is exaltedhealth.com, and all of my upcoming events, all of my upcoming courses or my current courses that are there, I have some new stuff coming out, and my book are all available right on that website. So Exalted is EXALTED health.com, so they can find just absolutely everything there.
This has been a great story. Thank you for opening up, Jen. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.